Well, this video is about product downsizing. It's a very strange aspect to today's very commercially driven world. It seems the way to make a profit now is not to raise the price, but to make something smaller and keep it the same price. But there's no law against making a profit, that's a good thing. But there's also no law against hiding a downsize. But these days, companies use social media and announce their downsizes and hope that angry people can spread the word and also spread their brand all over the place. Because getting your product seen is 99% of the battle to get your product sold. Let's do it. Hello, to kick off this video, can you tell me which one of these firemen is larger than the other? Take a good look at both of these guys. I'm pretty sure they're identical looking. And this video is about product downsizing, but it's not until you see these guys standing together then you start to realize that you're dealing with two totally different sizes of firemen. Downsizing is very sinister. Companies do all sorts of things to try and mask it. And what basically happens is one day you would come along and your favorite fireman would be this size. Then it disappears and the new fireman is installed on the shelves. And unless you've got one to compare against the other, you may never notice what's going on. But as I've found out, some companies are very good at distorting the packaging and making a downsize seem like the same size of the product before it was downsized. I feel it's very important to stay focused on the size of a product and when it changes, or else the companies win and you lose. Okay, can you tell me which one of these is larger or smaller? They are side by side. Can you tell by looking at the packaging? No. This one here that I'm wriggling is 15 grams. This one here, the new one, is 12 grams. That's a downsize. Okay, how about this take and play Thomas the Tank versus the new one that has appeared? What do you think? Well, guess what? We're dealing with another downsize. The Thomas in the foreground is the newer version, which has got the squashed driver's cab. If I pull focus, the one at the rear is the earlier version with the larger driver's cab. And one wonders why this goes on. Did we ever ask for a smaller and less detailed version of this toy? I don't think so. Well, it looks like the company behind this product here was tired of giving us larger bottles. One of these is actually smaller than the other, even though to screen they look identical, don't they? Well, this one here is 450 mils. This one is 400, so 50 mils has been taken away, but you can barely tell even by looking at the side of the bottles there. The one which is 50 mils less is a little bit skinnier, but most people may miss that one. Just take a look at the 450 mil before it was downsized. It says super concentrate. It says all of that there, original fresh, washes over 4,000 plates. Wonder how they worked that out. On the back, it says this, Australia's #1. Well, that's over now, guys. Tough on grease and all the rest of it. And what is curious is we take a look at the downsized version. This is what it looks like at the front. They've taken away some of the green, haven't they? There we are. We're down to 400 mil, which is there. And it's white. It's grey on white. It's very hard to see. Very, very sneaky. Superior cutting power. And then some of the info that was on the front of the other one has been moved to the back here. Australia's #1. This one here. Super concentrate has now been put on the back and not on the front. So one wonders how much destruction this will do to this brand. And it's one of those downsizes that lots of people would not even notice. I nearly didn't notice it until I thought, well, there's something a bit different when I picked it up. It just felt different. Well, guess what, guys? We don't use that brand anymore. Goodbye. Good riddance. Well, here's a product I used to be very familiar with. It was part of the core reason why I got so large and rotund. They used to be up around 200 grams, and there was a downsize down to 185, and they couldn't stop at that, could they? Nah. Then they brought out this one here. They changed the packaging slightly, and they brought it down to 165 grams. That's a downsize. But hey, maybe all this downsizing is sending us a healthy message saying, hey, we're not going to give you this giant portion size anymore. If you are one of those people that eat the whole bag like I did, it wouldn't be about profit, would it? No. Companies wanting more profit? Never. Goodbye. Good riddance. Oh, look what I found here. It's a giant block of Cadbury's chocolate. And Cadbury's was a brand I used to eat lots of. I used to be very familiar with it, but it was this downsize that you see on screen here that had me walk away from the brand. And in fact, lots of other people had a bit of a awakening to how evil downsizing could be when this one went on. Amazingly, those two blocks of chocolate present as the same size. This one here is 250 grams. This one here is 200. 1/5 of the product is removed here. But look at the size. They're basically identical to look at if they're on the shelves. All this downsize shenanigans was happening around 5 years ago, but much has changed since then. One thing that this downsize had, which was quite alarming and that other people picked up on, was the fact that Cadbury's went in and changed the formula of the chocolate. They also put crushed nuts in the nut varieties, but I wasn't a person who ate the nut varieties. Okay, let's have a run through of the remarkable changes that have gone on with this brand of chocolate. I don't believe what Cadbury's have been getting up to, but anyway, 250 grams at the start here. It had 26% cocoa solids. The cocoa solids is what makes chocolate nice, but Cadbury's thought, nah, we can give you less chocolate and less cocoa by giving you this one, 200 grams, and then it had 21% cocoa solids. People got very, very ranty about that. I got ranty about the size, but maybe they're using social media as a way of promoting their product, who knows? And then they thought, oh, what we'll do is we'll give you back the cocoa because you were so ranty. So it's still 200 grams, but we've got back to our 26% cocoa amount. And then I think they were still fairly angry for the fact that it was a downsize. And Cadbury's would have lost a lot of business by now, I'm sure. So I thought, oh, we'll give you back what we took away, but we'll write it up as if you're giving you more chocolate. That was a slap in the face that really said to me, well, these people are basically out of control, okay? So we've gone to 220 grams and we've got a foil packaging, and then people were saying, oh, we don't like this style of packaging because it's easy to tamper with the chocolate and all the rest of the blah, blah. And then packaging changes because that's the way to keep your brand fresh, isn't it? I dare say these guys are experts. I'm just a silly person going blah, blah on YouTube. And we're getting closer and closer to present days, and this is something that's happening right at the moment as I make this video. This is what I call the smoke screen. There's been a couple of very unusual brands of chocolate that they brought out. This one's got Vegemite in it. I'm not going to eat it. I actually sent some over to American friends because I'm sure they'd be very interested in it, but it's 200 grams. Okay? That's what I call the smoke screen product. And of course, we've gone back down to the dairy milk chocolate, which is now 200 grams again. Why would you bother? Why can't you just bring out one which is 250 grams and put the price up? I mean, isn't that easiest to do? And if you're wondering what sort of chocolate to eat these days, well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'll reveal it to you. This is what I eat these days. It is excellent chocolate, 90% cocoa. It does take a little while to get used to, but once you get off that sugary, sweet, overhyped Cadbury stuff and start eating this, you're going to be a far better off person. I can guarantee it. Down on the table there, well, there's the history of Cadbury's and how it's changed over the last couple of years. Hey, we had a downsize, but then we had an upsize. Yay, but history does repeat itself with Cadbury's because we had a downsize again. For me, the most unusual and strange part was this part here, where we had the 200 gram block, which was trying to emulate 250 grams, but also we had the recipe change here. We also had Cadbury using words like mouthfeel and all sorts of silliness to try and cover the fact they had an epic fail going on. We know that's an epic fail because this and then this came out. But hey, we're back to 200 grams. Let's check it out against the historic 200 grams. Let's see the difference in packaging. And hey, you can see there, we're starting to see a representation of 200 grams without making it look like 250 grams. And if I put the 200 gram downsize of today against the old 250 gram packaging, you can see that there is a radical difference in size. So all of a sudden, maybe Cadbury's have woken up to the fact that you can't play silly games like they had been in the past. I'm very lucky. I've actually got a friend who works in this side of the food industry, and he told me a fantastic story to why Cadbury's have been trying to chase down and getting a smaller size, which they've finally got down to. And it's been because of blocks like this. This is just your generic chocolate. This is the Coles version. It's 200 grams. Strangely, that's 26.5 cocoa. And the newer version is even higher at 27% cocoa. So that's 1% higher than Cadbury's. Now what's really freakish is that this block of chocolate here is half the price of this same size block of Cadbury's chocolate. One thing Cadbury said to get this 200 gram downsize, they said it's costing us more and more money to make this chocolate. They blamed it on the cost of the ingredients. Yep, the chocolate block here next to it, it's half the price, it's got 1% more cocoa, and you sort of got to wonder yourself, well, how can you ever compete when you've got that for $2.50 versus this for basically 1 cent off $5? So if you're into the shops and you saw two 200 gram blocks of chocolate and basically one of them's half the price versus the other one, which one would you choose? It's almost a no-brainer. But then again, there are some people who will just come in and buy Cadbury because maybe it's their favourite brand and possibly been eating it since they were children. And hey, that's nothing wrong with that. But what I have noticed is that Cadbury's have been doing some radical discounting. There's a lot of product in the shops. There's the smokescreen product as well, all the new variants to try and smother for the fact that we've done a downsize. We don't want you to notice that. But we want you to notice that we're being funky. But also there's been the downsizing with their other classic products. And I've got to start to wonder, how much damage is this doing to their brand? Can they survive this downsize? Well, here's my prediction of the backlash that'll happen from this downsize. There's a smoke screen going on at the moment. There's lots of discounted chocolate. It's not going to work. People will basically probably walk away from this again. Cadbury's will probably go back, give us more chocolate, make out as if you're getting more like they've done before, because history does repeat itself, as we've seen with Cadbury's. I think the generic stuff like this will become more and more popular because people will see that as excellent value. But I also think the higher end of the market will also get more people coming to it. And the way I buy this chocolate is when it's on special. I tend not to buy it at its full price because it is fairly ritzy, but hey, it's a top shelf product. And you may be wondering, well, how much cocoa is in this Lindt chocolate here? Well, it's got 90%, but there are different percentages depending on which block you buy. What I like about the 90% cacao is you only need a couple of small pieces and it gives you your chocolate hit. Now, when I used to eat Cadbury's, and it was back when it was in this big 250 gram block, I used to eat basically 3 strips to get my chocolate hit. And in eating that 3 strips, you're actually taking in a whole ton of sugar. The sugar revelation is probably best explained by looking at some of the information on the back of these chocolate bars. Well, this is on the back of the Cadbury's chocolate. I've got a laugh here. Be treat-wise, enjoy a balanced diet. Well, if you're having a balanced diet, you wouldn't be eating this rocket fuel here. It's saying that 4 squares is basically a serving, 25 grams. I used to eat 3 to 4 rows in the bad old Leo. Just to get your head around a serving on the 200 gram block, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 pieces of chocolate is a row. 14.4 grams per 4 squares. That's 16% of your daily intake in sugar, and sugar is the evil aspect to all this. I think this chart's a very important one to look at, particularly the per 100 gram averages. I always look at the sugar amount. Okay, sugar's 57.4 grams per 100 grams. That's a lot of sugar. Let's take a look at the Lindt chocolate. Okay, this is a very different chocolate, very top shelf chocolate, very, very nice. I like it a lot. And let's look at the sugars per 100 grams. Sugar there, per 100 gram aisle, 6.3 grams. That's vastly less than the Cadbury's Dairy Milk chocolate. So there's a radical difference in the amount of sugar between this Cadbury's chocolate versus this Lindt 90% cocoa. I classify this basically as a giant sugar hit, and I classify this as a giant chocolate bar. Well, I'll put away my lovely Cadbury Dairy Milk chocolate here. I dare say there'll be a current affairs show in Australia that will call me up and saying, hey Leo, can you bring in your blocks of chocolate, because we'd like to do a story on this as well. And there's a strange thing that goes on with this sort of thing is that I think these days companies use social media and basically good or bad stories to promote their product. In a strange way, people may see this video and think, I feel like having a bit of Cadbury's Dairy Milk chocolate, because you see so much of the delicious chocolate, don't you? That's why I've been a bit reluctant to actually pull it out of its packaging. But nevertheless, I think it's a very different world we live in these days. If consumers get spooked by seeing this, well, Cadbury's only have themselves to blame, don't they? If they were honest and true to their brand, they would just have stuck with this, and none of this rage would have ever happened. Well, there was a lot of news a couple of weeks back where I live, and they were talking about Freddo Frog being downsized. You could sell it as it's a good thing for the kids because they're getting less of that sugary chocolate. I'm a bit curious to take a look at the product now, even though I didn't really want to show chocolate in this video because it'll just make people go out and buy this stuff. The one I'm opening up is the 15 grams, so that's the old, larger Freddo. And I don't know, you've got to wonder yourselves, why does this go on? Well, we do know why, but, look at him. I actually feel like eating him now I see that. Okay, let's take a look at the 12 gram. That's the problem when you see the chocolate, you want to eat it, don't you? And this ends up becoming a giant ad. I've got to tell you the story of what happened to when I did the Big Mac downsize video and how that ended up becoming 2 5-minute primetime TV spots in Australia. Most people overseas would never have seen those. This is the 12 gram downsized version. Okay, and because you see one and you never see them hard up against the other, you rarely ever notice what's going on. Okay, there is the 15 gram there that I'm shaking. That's the 12 gram there. And if we turn it around to the side, we start to see where the downsizing has occurred. They've obviously made Freddo a little bit skinnier. So maybe that's telling us that if you eat this downsized version, the belly that he's holding there won't get as large, because it looks like he's got a sugar-filled belly there, doesn't it? Hey? Hey, I can say that now because I'm reformed. And I've got proof, okay? But nevertheless, it's a downsize. As in, if I put them side by side, I think it's the same height. I'm starting to feel the chocolate on my fingers. I want to lick my fingers now. Ooh, yeah. Temptation, temptation, temptation. But Freddo's still in trouble because his treat-sized bags have also changed. That's the old bag there. It used to have 20 treats inside. a little bit unusual because it had a different Freddo Frog. It had a 10 gram Freddo Frog, and on the back of it, it said not for individual sale. The total weight of the bag was 200 grams. Okay, that's gone because we want to make more profit. Now we've got this one. We've got 15 of the 12 gram Freddos. So basically the downsized Freddo has become, or the treat size one, and the total weight is 180 grams. So that's a downsize because the old treat bag is actually 20 grams heavier than the new one that they're flogging now. But don't worry, they are semi-selling this off as something which is good for your health because look, be treat-wise, enjoy a balanced diet. And this makes me laugh because here's the 12 gram Freddo from the new treat bag which was there, and it talks about being treat-wise, except if we look at the old Freddo, which was the not for individual sale, and it was 10 grams. So I'm sort of thinking, well, wouldn't it make sense to make a treat size smaller? Now what's happened here is the treat size Freddo has actually gone up in size. Not that you could barely ever see the fact that one's 2 grams heavier than the other, but nevertheless the treat bags now have this 12 gram Freddo where they used to have a 10 gram Freddo. Now, isn't having a smaller treat better for you? Yet, on the bag here, on the new bag, it talks about being treat-wise, enjoy a balanced diet. I mean, it just is giving me very mixed messages. So in this video we have marvelled at the downsize again of the Cadbury's classic block of chocolate. We've also marvelled at the fact that Freddo Frog has become a treat size and is better off for you because in a strange way the treat size has got larger. Very strange. And then there was this article in the paper the other day and it talks about Cadbury's white lies. And I'll have to pull this into another video and I've got to investigate it further. It's a very interesting article for the fact that they say that the Cadbury white baking chocolate, which it sells for $4.19 down at my local Coles, is exactly the same as the Cadbury Dream, which sells for $4.99 at its full price. So is there anyone out there who knows the Cadbury Dream product? I never ate the white chocolate. Is it true that these two products are basically identical but have radically different prices? Well, it's been a while since I've done a good downsizing video. This has been a curious one because there's been lots of stuff going on. Is it a case of strike 1, strike 2, and strike 3, you're out? Or will Cadbury's come in and give us back what we really want, and that is a large block of chocolate set at the right price? Anyway, you're probably all spooked by seeing so much Cadbury product on screen. You're all going to run off and buy it now. It's starting to spook me. I better say this up at the end of the video. As always, thanks for watching and bye for now.